Mothership is a tricky one for solo. It is very appealing in a lot of ways because it is a sci-fi horror RPG in zine form, and it has in the main book 36-ish pages, pretty dense. There's a lot here on the one hand. On the other hand, there's not a lot here for, I want to say, for the soloist, but also for, I don't know, a regular GM. I haven't watched or listened to any sessions of Mothership that are played traditionally. So I don't know if people are bringing in other material. I know there's a lot of Mothership material, but to play Mothership for the soloist at any rate, I think you're going to need more than just this zine in some fashion. I'll show you what I've got here. I'm going to attempt to construct a solo session with just Mothership material for the most part because I want this to be, I've gotten a lot of questions on the channel about Mothership and people writing in saying they've bought it and don't really know how to start or what to do. And I understand that because it's taken me a while to figure out an approach. But this video is going to show you my approach and walk through a little bit of setting something up and playing a little bit of it and seeing where we go. I've bought the Mothership Player Survival Guide, which is basically the main rules, and I also bought this. I also bought Dead Planet, which is a module. I don't know if it's the first module or what. I know there's a lot of material out there for Mothership, but I got this, and I bought one of the fold out. I just got the PDF, this Haunting of Ypsilon 14. This is a one shot for Mothership, and somehow I'm going to piece something together from this. When I originally thought about doing something, I thought about creating 3 characters, and I printed out 3. This was a little while ago because I will admit I got this a while ago and thought I was going to do a video, and I got stuck myself, but I know I was thinking that because I printed out the 3 character sheets. I created one character, a Marine, and we'll talk about a little bit about the rules and things as we go. I think, but before we get to that, I want to make a general comment about sci-fi, and I haven't done a ton of sci-fi on the channel. I've done some. There's a number of reasons for that. Chiefly that in science fiction, it is more challenging somehow to take the leap to imagine either a lone character or even just managing a couple of characters. You'll see in most of the videos on my channel, I think maybe I've done a solo session demo, maybe with 4 characters in a fantasy setting, but for the most part, I'm doing 1, 2, maybe 3 characters, and that's it. And that's for lots of reasons, most of which you can imagine, which is that it's just a lot to manage. You're managing the GM portion of it, you're managing the PC portion of it, and you're also trying to create some sense of revelation for yourself. So doing that with so many characters is a lot. That said, in a sci-fi setting, to make it plausible, and obviously the use of the word plausible here in and of itself is amusing because the whole thing is implausible, but to make it plausible within the commonly accepted constructs of sci-fi RPG, you have to be on a ship. It's hard to imagine that you're a lone person in one teeny little ship traveling around, landing somewhere. There's nobody there. That is challenging. And so then you talk about abstracting out lots of other things or creating a narrative that abstracts out a lot of other supporting characters and things like that. And it gets to be challenging. And too much abstraction also takes you away from the basic constructs of whatever rule set or IP you're using, and then becomes too generic. So there's a lot of extra stuff to manage in solo RP for sci-fi than there is for something like fantasy or maybe even other like urban contemporary noir, whatever. So that said, with all of that, those caveats, how am I approaching Mothership? Well, the first thing I'm going to do, well, as I said, I started to create I thought I was going to do a Marine. Well, actually, let's just take a step back for a second. We're going to just briefly go through some aspects of the main rules. This is essentially a D100 system where you have stats that you're attempting to roll under, and the main types, and there are additional skills that you can have. So the main attributes that characters have are strength, speed, intellect, and combat. And then additionally, there are skills that you can have and train up in, and these will add percentages to your basic relevant stats. So for example, if you are trained in first aid, as I think I made my character be, if you were rolling a skill that, if you were rolling for first aid, I guess you would do intellect or combat. And this is where well, maybe intellect. The rules here don't tell you, they don't associate, unless I'm missing it, they don't associate the skills with the particular stats. They do tell you, however, that you are meant to add them as a bonus if it is relevant. So again, this is it. This is what you get. So you're not getting 3 massive rule books with 800 pages each of every detail. You meant to put a lot of this together yourself. So in any case, if you have a skill in first aid, you're trained in it, you can add 10%. If you become an expert, there's a little chart here. You can choose to become an expert, for example, in pathology, and you have to have the first aid skill, and then you can add 15% all the way up to surgery with 20%. So that's an interesting system, and it connects the advancement of the skill to some baseline information. There are some blanks, which I guess you can make up what you want. I'm not really sure. So for example, in mathematics, the next level up is physics. Could you do something else there? I don't know. And then you know about hyperspace if you are a master at that. There's 4 classes of characters. Teamsters, they're rough and tumble crew and workers out in space. Scientists or doctors, researchers, and anyone who wants to slice open aliens. Androids are a terrifying and exciting addition to any crew. They tend to unnerve other crew with their cold inhumanity. And Marines, they're here to shoot bugs and chew bubblegum. They're handy in a fight and good when grouped together, but whenever a Marine panics, it may cause problems for the rest of the crew. I'm not sure, based on that, why I actually chose a Marine per se, because it does seem like it would be better to have a bunch of them together. In any case, I like the concept of an android. Maybe I will switch this up. I think looking back here, actually, it might be a little hard to see. When I rolled for my stats, that's 6d10, and then you add that up, I got something where, in essence, my combat and strength stats were the highest, and my intellect was the lowest. You know, if you follow this channel, you know that I probably would have chosen to go with the scientist, but I rolled up these numbers, and that's why I made it a Marine. Maybe I'll make it an android and switch it up. We'll see. In any case, those are sort of the basics. In terms of equipment and things, they have packages of equipment that you can choose, and they are thematically named. So your loadout here is, you can choose something that's based in excavation, exploration, extermination, or examination, and it lists them here. Some of these things are detailed in the rules as to what they do. The rigging gun, for example, does 2d10 damage, I noted down, and I'm not sure that they all are. I think the rest of this is not necessarily... one more key thing on saves. The basic class has a starting save value, so you would draw that in once you chose that stat, so you know that your sanity save here for Marine is 25%, the body save is 35%, etc. So I've just talked myself into starting over with a different character. I'm going to make my character an android, or attempt to, with the rolls, and we'll see what we get. But before we do that, before we do the character, As you know, if you watch my channel, I like to start not with character creation. I like to start with some type of environmental creation. Now, in this situation here, we don't, for example, in Mothership, there are not any random tables, for example, for rolling up like what type of planet you're on or something like this. It does not exist here in this book. And it doesn't exist here in this module either. But what does exist in this module is a kind of fun system for rolling up a derelict ship and mapping it out. What I'm going to do is show you this because I think it's really neat. And we're going to start by creating a derelict ship that we actually are on. This is going to be our ship, and it's going to hopefully give me some ideas or concepts for generating a story. We're just going to build the story together chronologically in the video because I think that for this, at least for this setting, this is the most helpful. I am going to create for myself, again, probably one, maybe two characters, we will see. This is going to be a research vessel. So I'm going to be taking these 8d6 and it's going to be one level. And basically what I'm going to be doing, as they suggest here, is I'm going to be rolling these 8d6 and I will build my ship. I'll just color code them. It's probably not going, this aspect of it is not going to matter. This is just for, you know, form's sake or whatever. I'm going to put them like this. And this will be my ship example. Maybe we'll do this. We'll have a little ship like this. This is going to be a small ship. And the next thing you do is you're going to be rolling d10s for each of your d6s and then cross-referencing them here and getting some information about what's going on in that area. So for example, I will show you I'll do this initial roll here. So for my number 2 die here, it's going to be a 7. So I reference this column and I go down and see 7. This will be an engine that it's intact and salvageable, and it has 1d10 fuel units. Now I can roll this up for sure and keep track of it. Only 2 fuel. So now immediately this tells me if I wanted to, this could be my narrative. Well, I ran out of space there, but what I was trying to say is this could be my narrative hook because I am in a ship with only 2 fuel units in it. So that's something I will make a note of and continue to think about. And this will just, so we got a 2 here on the 5. 5 column 2, these are the thrusters. They're completely smelted. So again, this is a derelict ship. So we know we're in distress, and that's fine because distress is going to equal some type of narrative. And keep rolling up here. We got a 10 on this 1. Where number 1 is the command module, and we're on 10 here. So this is going to be a weapon. And we will see what that weapon is a D6. It's a 4. So that's going to be an MG turret. And continuing along, didn't do that. We have a 9 here. So, whoops. So that's a 9. It's another weapon. And that's going to be a rigging gun. This is a little bit of a mess, but that's okay. And then for this, I think we'll stick with, we got a 6 here on the 2. So that's going to be an engine. This one is intact and salvageable with 1d10 fuel. Another 2. Another 2. This is telling me we're definitely out of fuel. This repeated 2. So I'm not going to add these up to be 4. I've talked about this in another video, that when rolling the same number for a similar situation, I often use that and take it to be a theme as opposed to the actual value. So in this case, I rolled the 2 twice for 2 separate things. This is a theme to me. We're running out of fuel. All right, moving on to the 3 here, we get a 7. This is going to be barracks with corpses in it. And so that was that. And then the 1 here is, I've got a 1 and a 1. This is a galley. No, excuse me. A 1 and a 1 is the command, which you actually need to have. So we do have the cockpit here. This is this right there. And then the final thing we're going to be looking at here is the 6 value. This is a cargo hold. And we got a 2. So we're going to roll on the cargo table. 65. All right. Terraforming equipment. Okay, I can work with that. So from all this, these are the notes that I made, and I've circled or put boxes around this concept. We're on a research vessel. The 2 fuel units, as I talked about, there's corpses and terraforming equipment. And I think the next thing I want to do to try to narrow this situation into something that is a narrative story is I'm going to go to my solo RPG wallet, and my very basic table, my very basic percentile table, I think is all I'm going to use at the moment. And I'm going to do these D100 rolls and find a space here to determine the likelihood, in essence, of these things coming into play in our story. So for example, the fact that this is a research vessel, how significant is this in, or will this be in my story? 46, I'm in this range of it's maybe, it maybe not. So the way I'm reading this here is just going to the closest upper value and then working backwards since I don't know the answer. So it's outstanding as to whether the research aspect of this is going to be important. However, the 2 fuel units, the 90 is going to be a sure thing. So that is going to be significant, as sort of as I was thinking earlier on. Ooh, 98. So are the corpses. The corpses and the fuel units, significant in the story. And the terraforming equipment, we got a 68 here, so very likely. So what we're getting right here is that these 3 anchor points: the corpses, the fuel, and the terraforming. So we're going to make a note of it, and what's in this set of roles, what is downplayed here is the aspect of the research vessel, which is not actually what I was originally thinking, because I chose it as a research vessel with the concept that maybe I'll put a scientist in there, as I typically do. The next thing I'm thinking about here is the capacity to hire mercenaries exists in Mothership, and I'm going to take from the mercenary rules this concept of loyalty and roll up what their loyalty is, and I'm going to abstract out from that what I will be using them for and to model here. So as I talked about earlier on in the video, when doing sci-fi stuff, it can be challenging because it stretches the imagination even further to just kind of be one character without a whole support network or a whole support system and the ship and all that. It can be a lot to manage. So the mercenary rules here, they have stats. They're simpler characteristics than the main characters in the game. What I've done is I've decided I'm going to have a pilot, an engineer, and an android on my ship with me. Those are going to be sort of stand-ins, NPCs in effect, but mercenaries. And I'm going to roll up for them their loyalty value. Now, the way loyalty works in this game is that it says you roll it when you hire them. It's a save that should be rolled whenever the mercenary needs to make a choice between what's best for them and what's best for you. I'm going to use this as a mechanic to help me guide my story. So for example, my pilot mercenary has to do with obviously movement, travel, things of that nature, abstracted out. We're going to get a value here. And as the story goes, when we have a question about can we proceed, I don't know, something that would be generally speaking related to the theme, that is the number we're going to roll on to determine our success or our failure. To get these numbers, there are going to be various D10 rolls. So for the pilot, the loyalty is a basic 5D10 roll. So we will gather up our 5D10 and make that roll here and see what value we come up with. for that, and I'm going to do that for all of my things. 5 and 1 is 6, 7, 14, 20 is our loyalty. Our pilot is not terribly loyal. That was not the greatest roll for that. Narratively, this could represent issues with what we want to do, where we want to go. Our engineer here, which is going to be a 60-10 loyalty roll. We'll find another D10 for this. That's a D10. All right, we got 10, that's 18, that's 20, 30, 38. Well, already we have a higher value on this, so 44. So our engineer has a higher loyalty to us. Again, this may suggest to me some kind of story connection. Maybe the engineer is a more significant character. Maybe the engineer and my character have some type of personal relationship, as opposed to the pilot, who is just there to function in a completely mercenary fashion. And then the android here, who's going to be a stand-in for kind of anything, it is going to have a 5d10 loyalty value. So we'll see what we get here with this. 7, that's going to be 16, 22, 26. So clearly the engineer, which is going to be involving with fixing and technology and things, that's going to be the highest loyalty value we have among these mercenaries. And again, whether or not they're actually mercenaries per se, or just other abstracted NPCs, or just sort of other characters that I don't really have to manage, that's kind of what they are. But again, mechanically, we're looking to these values, and then when we have this value, abstracting it out for narrative purposes. So I've made this note here. The important things here are the fuel, the corpses, and the terraforming equipment. Now what I want to do is I just want to ask a straight up question about, I want to know, are these corpses somehow related to this terraforming equipment? In other words, did the people, or whoever they are, we actually don't know that they're people, but was the death that created these corpses connected to something that was going on with this terraforming equipment? That's the question I want to answer. And to do that, I'm going to use this. Somebody sent me this Fate Mill D20, which is a D20 that has a series of, associated with the number that you roll, a series of sort of yes and yes, no, whatever. So there we go. Here's a look at it, and it's pretty cool. The font is a little hard to read. I think the words are rather small, but there is a key that goes with it. So we rolled a 16 in answer to that question, and the answer is yes. So we rolled a straight up yes for this. The corpses and the terraforming equipment are yes, definitely related. We didn't get a yes and, so we'll leave that question right now open as to how they are related. And I think we're getting to the point where we need to really see who our character is. And so we've got the possibility of teamsters. We've gone through this before. Scientists, androids, or marines. The way the game works is they want you to take 60-10, roll the stats for strength, speed, intellect, and combat, and then choose your class for that. That's, I guess that's what we can do, and just see what we get. So we're rolling right now for strength. And our strength roll, we got 2, we're starting out pretty strong. So that is 29, 39, 42. That's a strong character. So our strength value is 42. Our speed is going to be not super so high. 18, 27. So we're big and we're slow. Big and we're slow. And our intellect, the key, the key one, is not looking super great. 10, and we've got 29. That's not great. 29. I don't think that's going to be a scientist. And finally, our combat value here is, that's going to be 20. 29, 31, if I got that right. So this is, the main thing is we're strong, and strong in combat. So this is, I think we're going to be a teamster. I think rough and tumble crew, workers out in space, that's it. So this is telling me we're a teamster, and we will have a look here to see how we're going to train. Now, our health is going to be the strength times 2, so we're starting out with 84 health, and we'll make our current health 84, and we're going to take, let's see, we said we were a teamster, so these are our save values for the various, like our sanity save, and then what we do is we're going to add +5 to both, to both strength and speed. So our strength is now 47, and +5 to our speed, which is now going to be 32. Teamster, once per session, a teamster may re-roll a roll on the panic effects table. Okay, cool. Teamster, 0G, mechanical repair, pick 1, heavy machinery or piloting, +4 points. Excellent. Trained skills are going to cost 1, expert 2, master 3. So we're starting out with 0G, which could lead to asteroid mining. I think this is how it works. We're given 0G and mechanical repair, and we get to pick 1, heavy machinery or piloting. I'm going to go with heavy machinery, and 4 points to spend. So we are trained in those, and we can either train ourselves in something else for 1 point, or some things else for 1 point, or we could spend 2 points. We're not going to be able to get to mastery at anything yet, but I don't know, maybe we should become an expert in asteroid mining, and we should go somewhere. Maybe that's what is next for us. We could become an expert in asteroid mining for 2 points. So what this is going to allow us to do is add 15% to a roll that we do that has to do with asteroid mining or 0G. And I need to reconfirm in the rules, but my sense of this is that I didn't find in the rules where these are specifically tied to your basic stats. So I'm not sure, for example, for asteroid mining, what would your basic value be there? Would that be an intellect? Would that be a speed? Probably one of those two, right? An intellect or speed? I don't know. Maybe intellect? I don't know. I got a little cut off there, but I decided on going with military training as for the second 2 points, and then I picked up, we got the asteroid mining here, and I also picked up scavenging. So this is what we have for our teamster. I'll roll up a name for this character. I think the next thing is the loadout. I think I'm just going to go with exploration. It's a little counterintuitive because my intellect is low, but that's just what I got. That's what I'm going with. That's what I'm feeling here. I did choose this scavenging as mentioned, and the asteroid mining is my expert. There's a D100 table here in Dead Planet for colonists and survivor names. So let's give a roll on that and see if we like something. We get 21. Selena. Okay, Selena the teamster. Let's give her a quirk, and her quirk is going to be 56. Oh, she's a conspiracy theorist. Of course she is. She believes a cabal is responsible for everything and trying to recruit, may have fringe beliefs about health and wellness. All right, so she is Selena the teamster is a conspiracy theorist. Actually, what I want to do is I want to go back to Mothership because there's sort of a trinkety kind of scenario here. We have trinkets and patches. So let's see, what is Selena the conspiracy theorist trinket is going to be what? A journal of grudges. Oh, that's awesome. That's great. That is great. All right, we're gonna develop that in some way. She's already a little on the edge. I think she's gonna have to start with a little bit of stress. She sounds anxious and stressed out to me. Let's see what her patch says. Her patch is going to be 76, and her patch is going to be, Okay, well, something I'm going to keep not say in here. She's got a Russian saying, and that's her patch. So we've got a bit of a misfit, of a malcontent, somebody who has in her mind created this concept of the world is a conspiracy, and she is floating around in her semi-derelict ship, research vessel, but she's got these running out of fuel, very important. These corpses, we're going to need to investigate that next, very important. And then she also has this terraforming equipment, likely that's important, but we need to now figure out perhaps either what those corpses are or where she is, where she's going. Maybe she's landing somewhere, and give her a story, a larger narrative in which to start to operate. We're instructed that we gain stress when, in certain moments, when the ship gets hit, if we're near a scientist and they fail a sanity save, if we go without rest or food or water. But as we know, our Selena is stressed out, and she's in this ship that is about to land somewhere. She's out of fuel. She's a loner who is convinced that the world is out to get her. And in this moment, we are going to roll for... We're going to just see... We've got this D100 table of nightmares, and... Oh, wow, we rolled a 1. She's got a migraine. Your migraine is splitting your skull. A dog rushes toward you, its eyes full of loving devotion. The dog's head explodes into a crimson mist, coating your hands like an accusation. So, Selena is not only a conspiracy theorist, but she is filled somehow with feelings of guilt, I think, that anything good she interacts with in the world just is destroyed, or she is the source of that destruction, and she's pretty fragile. She has a particular response to certain things in the world, and these things are anything made out of wood is something that is particularly negative for her. So we're going to be on the lookout for that as we land her ship here on the dead planet. We're going to be at this landing site. In the landing area, it says, the ancient rocky plateau is scarred with scorch marks of impact sites, including the remains of several campsites. This elevated location seems defensible, with excellent vantage points and crumbling ruins for cover. When resting at the landing site, individual PCs will have a nightmare. And from the landing site, I have rolled up a D6 list of places we could possibly go, taken from here. We got to 6, so we're going to be off to the Red Tower. We're going to end up at the Red Tower, and this is a source of a military distress beacon. The twisted and eroded remains of a Carmite ergonomic building appears like a shattered molar on the horizon. Around it is completely vacant. Originally, the building was a breakaway from the colony ship settlement, a hybrid bunker, armory, and research station built to serve as a protected space against the compulsive gate-building madness. And it says that there are corpses of the crew scattered throughout the complex. Now, we know we have corpses on our ship. Maybe we are bringing some corpses back here. Maybe the corpses that we have are these gaunt soldiers here. So let's just see what we're seeing, what type of corpses we're seeing. They are wearing greatcoats and gas masks. That's what they look like. And their mutation is they have a beak-like mouth surrounded by tentacular whiskers, eyes like a goat, and an enormous third eye has ruptured through their forehead. So they perhaps they've seen too much. Perhaps they are, at least to Selena, this tells her that they saw through the web of lies in the world and were penalized for that, and crystalline formations erupt from inside their bodies. So to her, again, this signals that they saw the truth, and somehow the truth was the good truth of the world was attempting to come out. And this does cause her to be a bit stressed out and to take a stress point. And actually, by reminding myself that I wanted to start her off with some stress, but I didn't do that. So we'll not. Well, you know what? We are going to start her off with some stress. My concept for her with the stress is to start her off with a D6 amount of stress. Well, that's 5. So she starts off with 5 stress, and she is increasingly now taking on stress when she sees something that is, in her mind, coming together with the fact of the conspiracy. And so she's at 6 stress right now, and that what we need to do is to make a stress roll to see if we panic. And the way that works is we're going to roll 2d10, and if we happen to roll under our current stress level, which right now is at a 6, we will panic, and then we'll have to roll on her panic table. So we will roll 2d10, and let's see. Mostly I have d10s, but now I can't find one. Here we go. So at a 5 or under, we're going to panic here from seeing this, but we don't panic yet. But our stress is increasing, and we're going to go into this red tower. We're going to enter into this complex here through the exterior. There's broken glass and crumbled walls, and it looks to be an abandoned sort of research facility here. And there is a storage closet, and there's something spray painted on the outside of the storage closet that says "Alive" inside. The door is locked, and Selena continues walking along. She sees some broken furniture and a corkboard splattered with blood and "Run Like Hell" spray painted on the outside. There's a maintenance closet here, and perhaps there's some equipment in there that she could find. So let's see. Can she? Well, let's see. First of all, is there anything? Are we going to find anything of use in this maintenance closet? Yes, and what? Maybe we're going to find a lot of things of use. So perhaps it's worth it for her to try to get into that maintenance closet. And we don't have indication. She doesn't particularly have a crowbar or something like that. So, but she'll just try to use some brute strength to see if she can pry open that door, and she cannot do that. She's making some noise with that. Does she attract the attention of anybody with that noise? Maybe. So she listens, she hears something in the hallway. She's going to try to hide and maybe move on. She sees some elevators that don't seem to be working, but there's a subterranean elevator, and that is propped open with something. So she's going to make her way down into the second floor here, the second level below. It's abandoned and quiet, but she has a risk of triggering an alarm. So the question is, can she evade this alarm? And I guess that's more of a speed. That's more of a speed thing. So, oh wow, look, 31. She rolled right under her speed, so she did evade the alarm. So she's got a little stealth going on there, which I decided is related to speed. That's pretty good. So she's there's not a lot of light. She can't really see. I'm gonna do a roll here with I have a scavenging skill that's going to give me 10%. I'm going to add that to my intellect to see if I can roll a 39 or under. I'm going to say I see something. Do I see something? No. Continuing walking along, not seeing anything. It's eerie. It's desolate. The lights are flickering. There's possibly possibly a sound there. She doesn't see any bodies. One of the doors just magically opens. She sees some spent ammo on the floor, and there's an automatic weapon just pointing into the room. She sort of freezes, and she hears a sound behind her because she didn't make any effort to close the doors behind her. And because she didn't make any effort to close the doors behind her, there may be somebody coming. It may be one of the gaunt walkers that is around here. So as she turns around, we question, is it a gaunt walker? And yes, it is. And in fact, it's more than one. How many is it? Let's see. Oh my God, it's 6. This isn't great. So she essentially is going to be surrounded here by gaunt walkers who are lurching toward her. They always scream before an attack, and the scream is going to force a fear save, and it's going to add D10 divided by 2 stress if she fails the fear save. Her save value is, oh, I forgot to mark it as a teamster. Her fear save value is 35. Can she make a fear save here? Let's see if she can. Oh wow, she did. Listen, this is like, she has lived her life as a paranoid conspiracy theorist, and this is not scaring her at all. So she doesn't get any stress upon that. And the question is, did she get a benefit from that? I'm not really sure about that. So we're gonna turn to, she's gonna get her rigging gun ready, and I think we're gonna need to try to blow these gaunt walkers away. So she turns around and she like pulls out her vibachette, and she's about to slash at them. And what we need to do is to see, actually, can she act first? And that's going to be a speed check. And I need to make that check at disadvantage, which I failed to do earlier. This is because of the vac suit that she's wearing, and I put that note up in the video, but this time we're rolling at disadvantage, and either way, it doesn't matter. She's not going to act first. So they are encroaching upon her, and what's going to happen here with the close combat that we're going to have is they are reaching out to her with their bites or claws. We're not sure what, and we need to do a close combat check, which is going to be our armor save versus their combat save. And we're rolling here at we need a 42 or under, and they need a 65 or under. We're going to be the purple and the green, and they're going to be the black die. And the question is, first of all, did they succeed? Yes, they did. However, we defended against it so that we both had success. We're grappling here, and she's really fending off these 6 gaunt walkers who are around her, and now she starts to slash with her vibachette, and what that means is we need to do a combat check. Now, there's some ambiguity here, more than some, about the stats on this gaunt walker, so I am deciding that their body save value is 22, and I came up with that by taking, these are the essentially the zombies of the research scientists that were here. So the research scientist body save is 25. I'm taking a 10% less chance in that, so their body save value is 22. There were no guidelines as far as I could see for this, so this is what I've determined, and we will be seeing whether we can get off an attack against that. And indeed, we were able to, let's see, no, we didn't, again, more grappling. They wouldn't have successfully defended against it, but we didn't even get off the attack. So they're coming back at us, and we continue to successfully defend against this horde of zombies, and we're going to make another effort here with our vibachette to strike at them, and they are just evading us. This is a true close combat situation, and they rolled a 100, and that is That's a critical success on their part. And this means that struggling here in the flickering light room of this abandoned research facility, these 6 gaunt walkers are going to consume our Selena, the conspiracy theorist. They're overtaking her. They're biting and clawing away, and she is going to be subsumed by them. And if she ever makes a comeback in this world, she will be a Gaunt Walker herself, that she has just failed miserably here in her incursion into the Red Tower. And we can imagine the transformation of our teamster, our loner, our conspiracy theorist in this abandoned military building. She has been unable to escape her demons, unable to really even find a purpose in this world. And perhaps she will have better luck in her transformed state as a Gaunt Walker. All right, well, some final thoughts here on Mothership. I took an easy way out, I'll admit it. I got that 100 roll for the Gaunt Walkers as a critical success, and I narratively made that be the destruction of my character, because I wasn't feeling, with this existing material that I have right now from this particular IP, I wasn't feeling I had a lot of places to go, and I was confused, and maybe, maybe I'm missing it. The player survival guide has no enemies in it whatsoever, and I haven't seen any actual sort of basic stat block to even, or guidance in even creating those enemies. The Dead Planet module did, but I realized kind of too late that what is listed here in the stats does not match up with what you are told you need to do the combat. Now, somebody in the comments can tell me that I'm missing the obvious, but even down to this, where we have the hits 3 parentheses 30, I took the 30 to mean this would be the HP, and maybe they do 3 hits per round. I'm not really sure. Again, I didn't see any indication of the structure of what is given here, and that kind of threw me. I will admit that I was thrown off by that, because I want to try to follow the rules and then modify them, but if the rules aren't there, I struggle a little bit. And the question here I'm seeing now, yeah, I'm just not seeing anything about that. So, well, enough about that. And in the comments, if you're familiar with this game, please tell me where I have missed something. I think, as I said at the outset of the video, for soloists, sci-fi is a challenge, and it's a challenge in many ways because it is really stretching narratively to think that you have just one character, or even if you're running a couple of characters without a whole kind of intricate support network, even if you abstract it, that if you were playing a traditional doing role playing traditionally, the GM, or in this case the warden, would be creating all of that for you. And I tried to deal with that a little bit with the mercenaries. My concept, and I just didn't do that, actually was going to be that I would maybe bring an android or the engineer with me. The pilot would sort of stay on the ship, I guess, but bring them with me and then do a loyalty roll to see if they would help me with something. Frankly, I forgot to do that. I'm not really sure that would have helped so much, because I didn't have them particularly outfitted or whatever. In any case, I think for soloists, doing something in Mothership, I think it will require more pre-preparation on the kind of GM side of things, including, at least for me, figuring out more clearly who the potential enemies or encounters would be, and making sure that I understood exactly how to run the combat with them. On the plus side, I love anything that's a D100 based system or a D10 based system, because it's very easy for me to visualize percentages of how successful something is, or how quote unquote good I am at something, as opposed to, even after all these years of playing role-playing games, when I get like the plus 13 or -1 or whatever, it's a lot easier for me to say, to know, okay, my strength is 47%. I get that intuitively. So I'm always a fan of D10, D100 based systems in that regard. And here, one other point I noticed as I was reviewing and editing the video, that if I had taken, so there's somewhere here, let's see, tactics here. So tactics, military training and tactics, they explicitly say somewhere that you can use tactics in combat. And I suppose that does make sense if I had just kind of read through and looked at it, and I might have chosen that instead of asteroid mining to give myself the 15%. So I suppose that's on me for not carefully considering all of these. But again, the lack of any one place where this tree is spelled out a little bit more in terms of suggestions of matching it with stats, I think that could have helped. But I understand it's an abstracted thing and meant to be done on the fly we have this short rule book, but the lack of the enemy's explanation, and that, I think, coupled with the and also no sense of essentially, these are dungeon crawls. I mean, I guess that's what I'm saying, that it feels like it's dungeon crawl based, even though there's a lot of real estate given to creating your ship, and ship-to-ship combat, I believe, is a thing, buying ships, refueling, and things like that. But no sense, at least in this or here, this module, which is a lot of the initial material, of the universe per se, or places you could go. So I don't know. I'm mixed on Mothership, I guess, is the message, and I'm glad I tried it out. I had a lot of requests on the channel for it. We'll see if that translates into people actually watching the video. I don't know, but I thank you for sticking around. And poor Selena is now consumed by the Gaunt Walkers, and probably will never be heard of again.